Hello, anyone who might be watching. It's Paul here again, and I'm messing around with LMMS, and I guess it's still Linux Music Multimedia Studio or whatever, but it's on their site is now like Let's Make Music Simple or something like that. So I think they backronym it because it's not just Linux; it's on any OS now, I think. And I think there's even the Mac release, but I'm not entirely certain. Anyhow, what I'm going to cover is quickly, or try to do it quickly, is the changes to the FX mixer and the post 1.0 versions, because it's kind of interesting. There might be other tutorials better done on this, but I don't see too much covered, so I'm going to attempt to do something. And I'm just going to set up some random stuff in the beat baseline editor, and even the kicker's been changed if you've been around with the old versions and pre 1.0. So it has a more realistic drum sound to it. But when you start out, all your instruments, I believe, are keyed straight to channel 0, and obviously that's how it was before. But if you try to change it, it won't change till you add channels down here. And I don't think sample track has... I don't think sample track, you can't set it to a channel yet. Which would be useful, but not yet. So let's mess around, build up a beat real quick. And there's a lot more built-in instruments now too. If I can go here. There's like a handful more than what there used to be with the previous version I was using. Still had to manually update the settings with Notepad because for some reason on my computer it hangs. There's probably a library used to make the Windows build that I don't have. And but still had to hang up on there trying to talk to people about that, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. But let's get back to the drum thing. So, or not the beats, the instruments. Instruments, drums. Drums is what I want. And is that going to be good enough? And I might actually add some kind of string instrument sound here. It's kind of small for me to read. For a bass sound, I think that will do. Alright. So I'm just going to set up something quick. Nothing too fancy. And what I will do is add steps. Oh, and the way the steps add now, it's like bars now. So when you click on that, instead of just adding steps, it adds a whole bar. Which is alright. Just why I stretch this out a little wider on my widescreen so I can click on things easier. So let's set up a pattern. And see, we want to break up our percussion into different parts or direct them up. So what we got to do is now we have the big add button for FX Mixer. So I'm going to add some channels for all the stuff, and see, I want the kicker to go to 1, so I assign it to 1. And hi-hat 2, bass drum 3, and I'm just going to use this for a mixdown. This will be 4, 5. I guess I'll send this one to 6. I think now you can have up to 99 channels here, because there's 2-digit positions for your mixdown, and it'll start scrolling if it gets big enough. Pardon me. Have breakfast there. Something. Yeah. So now let me play this again. All the channels. Yeah, that was 1, so I'll rename this. You probably should rename these things. So you can just do that by double clicking. Bass drum. And this one will be soft kick. And some shaker. And this is the guitar, I believe. Yeah. And actually, I don't want the guitar here because what I want to do is move it over, so I'll add some more. And I'll show you something when I'm adding more. And since this one, you can also move these, by the way. So when I click on this to move it, you can move it right, and it automatically adjusts the thing here so the instrument and that stays synced up. But if you use automation to do it, I don't think that'll work. So if you're automating the channel, you may want to keep tabs on it. But anyhow, I'm going to change this one here to percussion. And I don't know if they call it a master for that or a percussion control. And this one will end up controlling all the channels for the percussion stuff. Because when they changed it after 1.0, we have send channels. And if you notice, this send is lit up, and it stays lit up for everything you select under it. And that's because this channel here is going to this channel here. All these channels, as they're created by default, they go to the master channel, so that send is active. And you can actually send your thing to more than one, and I'm sure there's interesting reasons to do this. And what I'm going to do with the guitar now is I have it on channel 7, but I am going to use automation to control these channels. And what I am going to do is call this pedal FX1, because what I'm going to do is simulate the switching that guitar pedals do, or like switching between pedals, I guess. Pedal FX2. But instead of toggling one off and toggling one on, I am just going to switch like instantly between the FX channels. Pedal FX3, and this one will be, I guess, guitar. Because what I'm going to do is have all these, so percussion, what I'm going to do is stop sending all of these to the main. So all of these will no longer get sent to the main. So now if I go to play it from here, all we hear is the guitar, you know. But what I'll do is this will get sent to percussion, and as you can see, I can click on the send button, and because you can send more than one thing, you can also control how much gets sent here. So that's like 100%. It's like another volume thing, but it's specifically to the thing that's being sent to you. So you have like 3 volumes influencing your instrumentation. You have one on the actual instrument, and then you have the mix down for the effects channel, but then you also have another volume for the send channel. So it gets a little complicated, but I'm going to send all the things on the drum to the main percussion volume. So all these now for the drum will go to the percussion. So if I were to mute the guitar, turn off the sound on it, or I could do it at the guitar channel too. And speaking of the guitar, I'm going to send all the pedal effects no longer to the master. So click that. That's like an on-off toggle. And I am going to send all the pedal effects to the guitar channel. So that one gets sent there. They all get sent to guitar. And if you click on the master controllers for things like percussion, you see all the arrows light up. They're kind of gray, but all these arrows indicate all these are being sent to percussion. If I click on guitar, all the ones I set up as effects pedals are being sent to guitar. And automation track, I am going to, well, I could put an automation track in here too. But what I'll do is I'll just drag this beat baseline out a bit. Say like 4 bars. I guess that'll be good. So playing this right now, the guitar is muted, but if I wanted to mute all the percussion, because they're all going channel to the percussion, I can just click that there, and you can see that all these things are driving stuff, but since the percussion channel they're all going to is muted, you're not going to hear them. And not only that, but since all these things are going to the percussion, say if I got the mix down for the drums, let me stop it so I can talk. But say I get the mix down for the drums just about right, and instead of screwing around trying to adjust the volume because I want to tone the percussion down or something as a whole, everything for the drums kit, instead of trying to readjust all these, if I got a mix down I like, well, it's loud, but I want to dial it down, or instead of trying to adjust all these, I can just tone down the percussion with this volume control. Fade it in, and you can apply effects as a set or to specific items. So you can have instrument level effects, channel level effects, and then I guess master channels or like subs or whatever. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a name for it. I haven't researched it enough yet. But. So on the guitar, what I'm going to do is use this automation track. And it should probably put some effects in there. So all the guitar channels are sent there. And the thing is, when you put effects on things, they tend to affect the volume in certain ways. So it's also good to have it like this, so when I have an effect applied, I can adjust the volume to compensate. And have them all leveled about the same, well, even though they're adjusted up or down differently. But then if I want to adjust the output for the guitar, even though it's on a different effect, and not mess up the having them about the same level of output wise, I can just control this volume for the main channel of the guitar. So maybe I will solo the guitar now, and let's see. So we could put, let's try to figure out what effect we want. For pedal effects, one, some kind of reverb or something. So I can adjust the guitar for that. also I'm thinking another thing is, because you can send to multiple channels, you can probably make use of this for a peak controller that way, so you can send to a channel that's not audible, like a peak controller. And I also think you can do certain things with delay effects more usefully than you could before by sending it to more than one channel, so you could have another channel on a delay and control the volume of your echoes and stuff with much more precision than you could before. It's just, instead of trying to guess, you can see the actual sliders and just go da-da-da-da and visually work out your delays and echoes and stuff. But I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to treat it like a pedal effects here. So I'm going to click on this one, and we have like an auto wah-wah thing or something. I don't know how well it works. I'm still not familiar with all the stuff here. But I'm going to turn that one off. And so now let's switch this to FX8. I could probably rename these like what effect or something I have applied to, so I'm just treating it like a pedal that's set up with the different effects or something. So let's play this. Can you barely hear that? See, that's where I say where you have to bring the volume up. Even now I'm going to have to put like an amp on this one. Yeah, I'm going to have to add an amp. Right there, first thing on the list. Even now it's not very loud. Why the wah thing? Yeah, I guess it's not meant to be used fully wet or so. Oh. So not sure if that's a good effect of the example, because it really is hard to get it right. I'm not familiar enough with it. Add a different one, like a phaser. I think that gets close to. Auto phaser might work better. But now it might be really loud, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Something like that. Okay, and then I'm going to move this down 9 and add a totally different effect. Let's find something interesting. Alright. Pointer cast distortion. Make it grungy. So that one I have some weird effects there. Yeah, probably not the best, but okay. So what I'm gonna do is the 7, 8, and 9 on here. So what I'm gonna do is drag this channel here while pressing Control. Even says it right there on the automation bar, and it should just snap here. And by default, it already has the discrete parameter. So I go 7. Complete that one. And 8, 7, and then 9 or something. So it's like the effect of switching pedals, and I guess I could keep going. And you'll see this little number show up so you know what step you're on to. So I'm keeping it to the channels I know I want to have it on. And I'm just kind of doing this randomly. It's like not like I'm planning this track. But if you were planning it, you could do a lot better than this. And just a couple measures actually. So it is 6 I don't want there. Well, it's like a change up. Something like that. Alright. Just so you get an idea. But now what it'll do is it'll be like all these pedals are adjusted, but I can adjust the main volume for the guitar. So I can have these set up to keep a consistent sound level, but use this one to control the overall volume. And I can apply like layered effects this way too. So it's like I wanted to have a cutout on the where is it? Probably just call it a filter or something like that. I think it's just called filter. But it's high or low pass depending on which way you have it set. Mode, it doesn't tell you what the modes are, you just have to try it. So if I wanted to have this filter applied to all the percussion, I could just do it there. I'll stop muting that, turn it back on, and as you can see, I can just control the overall volume for the drums or the guitar. And even though this one's changing effects, the volume stays consistent, and I can just change the master for that, or the overall master. So remember that all these are going to percussion, and all these are going to guitar. And I'm using one set of effects channels as if they were pedals. The other ones I'm just using as discrete controls so that I can see all together. Or thinking around with these knobs. I mean, there's like some variety here, but it's an idea of what you can do with the effects mixdown that you couldn't do with the previous pre 1.0 versions. So I thought I'd just show you how to use that, and I'm sure there's a lot more cool stuff than what I'm doing here that you could figure out, but it's a start, and like I said, you could also send it to a peak. So if I had an effects channel for a peak controller, I could just say peak input, and then add an effect to it for the peak controller. And the peak controller has a mute effect, so you don't hear it from this channel, but you could send things like if I wanted the bass drum to affect it, instead of just sending it to the percussion output, I could send it here. But say I have another drum or something, like a hi-hat, I could also send that to the peak input. But say I want the hi-hat to have less effect, I can dial it down. So now when I have a peak controller on something, peak controller output, I have a controls output. I probably close controls. But if I go to right here, controller rack. See, it's a peak controller. With these, it just has a generic controller and a number, but I would prefer if it said what type of control, which should be either LFO or peak. But you can do it manually, so I'll just do this and call it peak 1. And it renames it, so you can do the lookup list applying a controller to something. Say I had, I wanted to affect one of the phasers or something with the drums for some weird reason. So I could pop this open and maybe control the spread with the peak controller. So if I connected a controller, it would say peak 1, so that way instead of going, oh, which one is it? I know this is the first peak controller. You can name them whatever, but that way you know. And then the other controllers you have are these, which are LFO controllers. As I said, I would name them LFO1 or whatever. That way you know which one's which and you're not screwing around. Why it doesn't do that by default, I don't know. It's something for the developers. They should separate it like that. But there might be 2 or 3 other controllers you could come up with, but just thinking out loud here. So now if I'm playing with this, we can and the peak we don't want to send here. Gives you an idea of the kind of stuff you can do, so have fun messing around with LMMS, and now you can do your mixdown with a lot more interesting controls, so yeah. And see, these are going to there. Alright, have fun, later.